Hi, I've been asked to put together a little video on some of the virtual learning strategies that I used in my classes in the spring when we had very little time to transition some face-to-face classes over to online classes. And my experience was really good. I was lucky in that I didn't have a whole lot of content left in some of my classes, meaning they were very front-loaded, and I had smaller classes, but I wanted to tell you what some of my strategies were off the bat. And one of them was using videos like this. And as you can see, I have a camera set up here on a tripod. You can obviously see because I'm using my hands. And you can do that with an iPhone. It's nice because you're not getting that sort of selfie look, and it looks a bit more professional, but it's not to the level of being something that's completely, you know, edited, you know, to the 10th degree. So finding a way, a camera angle that looks approachable and you can see the speaker's face is helpful. It's also good from an accessibility standpoint for people who need to see your face to communicate with you. But one of the things that I felt was very successful, other than having these videos, was the content that I put in the videos. And a couple of things I did that really helped and that stuck out to students were that I made them informal. One, more than one, I used my child. Now, not all of you have children. I've also used my dogs, and I've used my cats. And I videotaped them as if they were in litigation. And so we had cases where I would film my cats fighting over something and then make it part of a video. Students really enjoy that because it's not as formal and it's kind of fun, and there's nothing wrong with being a little playful in a time that for many people is a really low point in our lives. So a little levity is good. The other thing that I did is use things, and I just have this, it just happens to be here, but I've used Legos to describe court cases that I've been teaching. So in videos where I had to show litigants doing things, I think negligence was one, I had Lego characters acting it out, and it doesn't have to be stop motion. That's really time consuming, but just using those Legos together to show a particular situation. Another thing that I did that worked really well was the use of flashcards. Yeah, it sounds simplistic, but I was trying to get across in a legal research video. I was trying to get across certain concepts and certain terms, and I had flashcards where I had a term on one side and the definition on the other side. And I like that for the following reason. At first, I tried to use captions. And captions are great because you can convey two different kinds of information, what I'm speaking and what's captioned across the bottom, and I was putting those in myself. But from an accessibility standpoint, it's not great because those captions, if they're not true captions, are a hindrance for people with accessibility issues. But what you can do is put in a super text or use a flashcard in order for you to get the visual information of what you're saying. And then students can pause, rewind to see whatever you're using on those flashcards. An easier way to do that is with a whiteboard. Why not put a whiteboard up, or a piece of paper even on an easel, or just even on the wall, and write down what you're saying so that a student, we have students who are oral learners and students who are visual learners, and for me, it's easier for me to see words, so I like to rewind, see what's on that paper, and that worked really well for me. Another thing that ended up working super well for me is having the occasional Zoom meeting. Now, most of our stuff is going to be asynchronous, and it has to be because from a student services standpoint, we don't know what's going on in people's lives, and we're really not going to know a lot of what's going on in people's lives as the pandemic progresses. So, many of us think, well, I shouldn't do Zoom meetings because I can't expect my students to be there. What I found over the spring semester, was that there were certain students who responded so well to that personal, seeing my face, hearing my voice, knowing it's going to be okay. I'll tell you that I had a student this past spring who I've had in other semesters. This student has had health problems, and they've been working with me and their advisor. And in previous semesters where we just had online classes, this student got far behind and failed those classes. With the occasional in-person, my teacher expects me to show up, my teacher expects she's gonna be there and I'm gonna see her, that student made it through, not only with the health problems that he had, because he had health problems before the shutdown, but that was enough for him. I had another student who had, I had a couple of students say, well, I'm reluctant to be in a Zoom meeting because I have kids. Many of us feel that we can't have those interruptions. Our students appreciate it. Not only did I have, and I was very upfront with all of my students, I don't care if your kids are there, mute yourself if you need to, it's fine. I had students attend Zoom meetings with their children present, and there were a couple where my 5-year-old was present, and there was one where a student who had been very trepidatious about having her child present, her kid came in frame. And I said, oh, how old's your daughter? She's 5. Well, my son's 5 too. Would they like to say hi? And immediately the tension in this student's face was gone. And she had opened up to me that she was struggling with job loss, she was struggling with housing loss, and she was having a horrible time of things. That personal connection with me through Zoom, it was a very brief interaction. It was good for her son, it was good for my son, and even without the children, it was good for the two of us to have that personal connection. Even if it's not for a grade, I didn't lose a single student this semester, and I firmly believe that a lot of that is that personal connection, whether you do it through Zoom, whether you do it through a telephone call. Again, I had another student who had terrible internet, so she had to connect just with an audio link. I had other students who had bad internet connections and they had to submit presentations instead of on Zoom, they uploaded them on YouTube. So there are all these things that you can do to keep your students engaged. Don't be afraid to be informal. Don't be afraid, because many of our students are intimidated already. They're first generation college students. They're poor. They're maybe they've failed at college. Maybe I've had students before tell me, everybody in my life has told me I'm stupid and I'm never going to amount to anything. And if we believe in them, they believe in themselves too. And that personal connection is the very first thing to go when we go virtual. It doesn't have to be that way. There are other sort of technological things that you can do to help with that, but I believe that the very most successful thing that we can do is maintain a personal connection with our students by showing them that they are not alone, that we are also, as faculty, going through tough times. I filmed a video a few minutes ago where my cat was just crawling around. That, for many students, can be the difference between persistence and failure. And when they see that not only are we vulnerable and normal and all that sort of stuff, but we can reach a hand out to them personally and do it in somewhat of an informal way, it's super helpful. The other things that I have found helpful have been using sort of pop culture references. TikTok is a thing that's may be illegal soon, I don't know. But you've all seen sort of those viral videos of, you know, professors doing songs and things, and while they're kind of silly, they're also a really good way to connect personally with students, and they need that now more than ever. A couple of technological things. You don't need a big setup. I have a nice camera and I have an editing program, but you can do all of this on an iPhone, and iPhones will, or an Android. You can use editing softwares and an app to download. I use something called PowerDirector. And PowerDirector is a really super powerful program. It's easy to use. It's also a free app that you can put on your phone. So if you have PowerDirector as an app on your phone, you can upgrade it for a few bucks. It's not expensive, but the free version's also great. You can edit your videos so that you can put graphics, or you can put you can do cuts, and you can add a title, and you can add an outro, and that particular app works really well for me. Another thing that I found from a technological standpoint is that videos obviously take up a lot of bandwidth. It is super easy to get a YouTube channel for free. If you get a YouTube channel and you just use it for a particular class, you can upload your videos to that. You can upload them. I haven't uploaded them much to Canvas, and I don't know what the college's policy is for like how much they can save. But YouTube has something called YouTube Studio, where you can do things like edit and caption and do that sort of stuff too. So those are all technological options for you as well. I hope some of this was helpful, and send me an email if you need any other suggestions. I also will give Trisha, who's putting this together, some examples of the videos that I created over the spring semester with my son and my animals to show you what I did to help students persist. Thanks.